The charges are dropped. The prosecutor gives up trying to convict Baltimore cops in the death of Freddie Gray, but defends her case against them.
We do not believe that Freddie Gray killed himself.
Also tonight, a judge orders President Reagan's would-be assassin released from a psychiatric hospital. We'll have reaction from the Reagan family. Trump tries to enlist the Russians to help against Clinton.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
And it was more than a gimmick. The Ice Bucket Challenge leads to an important medical discovery.
This is the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley, reporting tonight from the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia.
This is our Western edition. Just hours after an address to this convention by mothers who lost children to violence, some at the hands of the police, criminal charges were dropped in Baltimore today in the death of Freddie Gray. Gray's neck was mysteriously broken in a police van that was not involved in an accident. Riots in Baltimore calmed after 6 officers were charged, but after 4 trials and no convictions, the prosecutor conceded today it would be impossible to convict any of the cops. Jeff Pegues is in Baltimore.
Baltimore's top prosecutor, Marilyn Mosby, had a small group of supporters behind her and a divided city beyond, waiting for her to explain why she dropped the charges.
For those that believe that I'm anti-police, it's simply not the case. I'm anti-police brutality, and I need not...
She was unapologetic and at times defiant.
For over a year, my office has been forced to remain silent on all 6 of the cases pertaining to and surrounding the death of Freddie Gray, despite being physically and professionally threatened, mocked, ridiculed, harassed, and even sued.
Freddie Gray died in 2015 after he was arrested and put in the back of a police van. He was handcuffed, shackled, but not seatbelted in. He suffered a spinal cord injury while being transported to jail. What followed was several days of unrest and violence. 6 officers were charged in connection with his death. The first trial ended in a hung jury. 3 other trials were heard by a judge who found the officers not guilty. In one case, he ruled that simply failing to seatbelt a prisoner was not inherently criminal conduct. Mosby acknowledged that the next trial would likely lead to the same outcome.
The judge, who is within his right, has made it clear that he doesn't agree with the state's theory of the case.
Mosby argued today that the case reflects the reality of the justice system.
Unlike with other cases where prosecutors work closely with the police to investigate what actually occurred, what we realized very early on in this case was that police investigating police, whether they're friends or merely their colleagues, was problematic.
In a statement, Baltimore's police commissioner, Kevin Davis, called the investigation transparent and says it was conducted by over 30 ethical, experienced, and talented detectives. Gene Ryan is the president of the Fraternal Order of Police in Baltimore.
The state's attorney could not accept the evidence that was presented. She had her own agenda. The comments made today about our officers by Ms. Mosby were outrageous and uncalled for and simply not true.
Mosby says she regrets not being able to hold anyone accountable.
We do not believe that Freddie Gray killed himself.
4 of the 6 officers have gone back to work. Scott, there is an administrative review hanging over all of the officers that could lead to dismissals.
Jeff Pegues, thanks. Today, a federal judge ruled that John Hinckley Jr., the man who shot President Ronald Reagan, will be allowed to leave a mental hospital to live with his mother. Hinckley is now 61, and the judge said his mental health has improved dramatically. Now more with Chip Reed.
On March 30th, 1981, John Hinckley attempted to assassinate President Ronald Reagan outside the Washington Hilton Hotel. At the hospital, Reagan told the surgeons he hoped they were Republicans and told wife Nancy, "Honey, I forgot to duck." In fact, though, it was far from funny. The bullet stopped less than an inch from his heart. 3 others were also wounded, including Press Secretary Jim Brady, who sustained a severe brain injury. Hinckley said he wanted to kill the president to impress actress Jodie Foster after seeing her in the movie Taxi Driver. Hinckley was found not guilty by reason of insanity, and for 35 years he's lived under court supervision at a mental hospital in Washington, D.C. The court has allowed Hinckley frequent visits to the home of his 90-year-old mother in Williamsburg, Virginia. And today, federal judge Paul Friedman ruled that Hinckley will soon be set free to live with her full time. The judge found that Hinckley's mental illness is in remission and that he has shown no signs of psychotic symptoms, delusional thinking, or any violent tendencies. Tim McCarthy, police chief of Orland, Illinois, is the former Secret Service agent who might have saved Reagan's life that day by taking a bullet himself.
I'm very concerned, and I hope they're right that they let him out and he's not going to injure anyone else.
But in a tweet, Reagan's son Michael said, "My father did more than say the Lord's Prayer. He lived it in forgiving John Hinckley Jr. Maybe we should do the same."
Hinckley is expected to leave this hospital sometime in early August, but Scott, the judge, imposed a long list of conditions, including no weapons, no talking to the media, and no skipping out on his mental health care appointments. And if he does miss any of those conditions, he could end up right back here.
Chip Reed, thank you. Well, Donald Trump is doing all he can to steal the spotlight from the Democrats during their convention. He called a news conference in Miami today, and Major Garrett was there.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
That's a reference to emails sent and received from Hillary Clinton's non-secured, unauthorized private server when she was Secretary of State. FBI Director James Comey described her conduct as extremely careless, but did not support filing criminal charges. Trump's call for Russian meddling comes as U.S. intelligence officials suspect Moscow of hacking more than 19,000 emails from the Democratic National Committee. Emails showing internal discussions critical of Bernie Sanders and supportive of Clinton. Moments after Trump spoke, his running mate, Mike Pence, promised serious consequences if Russia interfered in the election. This appeared to contradict Trump's call for Russian cyber tampering. Intensifying the drama, a spokesman for House Speaker Paul Ryan called Russia a global menace led by a devious thug that should stay out of American politics. U.S. officials cannot give a motive for the hack, but the Clinton camp suggests it might have been done to help Trump, a theory the GOP nominees swiftly rejected.
I have nothing to do with Russia. What do I have to get involved with Putin for? I have nothing to do with Putin. I've never spoken to him. I don't know anything about him.
But in 2014, Trump said he had spoken with Putin and said Putin could not have been nicer. And then Trump said this during a GOP debate last fall.
And I got to know him very well because we were both on 60 Minutes. We were stablemates, and we did very well that night.
Trump scoffed at the controversy as he tried to demonstrate political muscle in the hometown of Vice President Joe Biden here in Scranton. Scott, in Lackawanna County, presidential turnout in the primaries favored Democrats about 2-1. Even so, Trump loyalists started lining up 7 hours early for a mid-afternoon rally that attracted a capacity crowd of more than 5,000.
And Major Donald Trump also said in that news conference that Hillary Clinton's running mate, Tim Kaine, had done a poor job for the state of New Jersey. Kaine, of course, represents Virginia. Major Garrett, thanks very much. Now we have the reaction to Trump from the Clinton campaign, and Nancy Cordes has that.
She does not view this as a political issue. She views this as a national security issue.
Clinton senior policy advisor Jake Sullivan slammed Trump's proposal to Putin, saying in a statement, this has to be the first time that a major presidential candidate has actively encouraged a foreign power to conduct espionage against his political opponent.
Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2.
Trump's foreign policy views are sure to come up tonight when Virginia Senator Tim Kaine takes the convention stage. Clinton's new running mate tested out some of his critiques at a delegate breakfast.
You can't stop terrorist attacks if you don't share intel, and you're not going to share intel if you shred all the alliances that Donald Trump is proposing to shred.
Clinton formally captured the nomination last night, celebrating with the crowd via satellite.
And I can't believe we just put the biggest crack in that glass ceiling yet.
It was an emotional milestone for delegates of her generation, like Lana Moreski.
We're not done yet, but it's reachable.
And for younger women, like Jamie and Smith.
I'd already admired her, but then it's like she did all of this on top of just being a great wife, a great mother, a great human being.
That was just the message Clinton's husband had hoped to impart, with a deeply personal speech that detailed their courtship.
In the spring of 1971, I met a girl. I was still in awe after more than 4 years of being around her at how smart and strong and loving and caring she was. She's insatiably curious. I married my best friend.
He said voters should trust his description of his wife, not the GOP's.
One is real, the other is made up. You just have to decide which is which, my fellow Americans.
President Obama will offer his own testimonial here tonight, and according to excerpts of the speech that have just been released, he will say, quote, even in the middle of crisis, his former Secretary of State listens to people and keeps her cool and treats everybody with respect. He will also say, Scott, that Clinton never gives up.
Nancy, one of the speakers today will be Michael Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York, who left the Democratic Party 16 years ago to become an independent. What are you expecting?
That's right. He even considered running for president himself as an independent this year. But we're told that he wanted to come here and speak because he has grave concerns about his fellow New York billionaire. And he will argue tonight that a Trump presidency would be devastating, Scott, for the economy.
Nancy Cordes on the floor for us. Nancy, thank you. Well, Hillary Clinton's running mate, Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia, will feature tonight. And he dropped by to test the stage earlier today. In their first and only interview, Clinton and Kaine sat down with 60 Minutes.
Senator, what did you tell her you were good at?
You know, I've been a city councilman and mayor. I've been a lieutenant governor and governor, and now in the Senate serve on the Armed Services and Foreign Relations Committee. So I'm a utility player. I've done a lot of things, and I've seen government from every perspective. I've seen things that work, and I've seen things that don't. I just want to do everything I can to make sure, A, we win, and that, B, the presidency of Hillary Clinton is fantastic. And I think I can, with my 2 cents, I think I can help that happen.
I do too. And, well, I just have to add that he plays a mean harmonica.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Got to have a fallback in my line of work. I mean,
What did you tell her you're not so good at?
Wow, that's a good question. You know, I not so good at. So I don't think I've had one day in my life when I've got to the end of the day and felt like I had done everything I wanted to get done that day. So, you know, there's always the sense of it could have been more, it could have been better, it could have been faster, you know, and so I don't consider myself driven, but I do consider myself kind of maybe perpetually slightly dissatisfied. I think Edison said discontent is the first sign of progress. If you don't have a little bit of a sense of discontent, then you're not going to feel the urge to wake up tomorrow and do better. But maybe my dissatisfaction at the end of the day is one of the reasons I get up early ready to do more.
Primetime coverage begins at 7. I'll be joined by Nora O'Donnell, Charlie Rose, Gayle King, and John Dickerson. The speakers include President Obama. Mr. Obama has chosen a location for his presidential library. CBS News has confirmed that it will be built in the Jackson Park section of Chicago. That is just east of the University of Chicago, where the president once taught law. One day after a French priest was murdered by 2 men who pledged allegiance to ISIS, Pope Francis said today, quote, "The world is at war and we don't have to be afraid to say this." During a flight to Poland, Francis told reporters he was not speaking of a religious war. Religions don't want war, he said. The others want war. Coming up next on the CBS Evening News from Philadelphia, serious health risks from dietary supplements and the ice bucket challenge has led to an important medical discovery. Dietary supplements are a $40 billion a year industry in the United States, but a new report finds serious risks. Here's Dr. Tara Narula.
43-year-old tattoo artist Bobby Cimarelli and his wife Margaret have struggled to get pregnant. Cimarelli decided to try over-the-counter testosterone supplements.
I was really bloated. My blood pressure was really high.
Within weeks, Cimarelli wound up in the emergency room. Doctors said the supplements were the likely culprit.
I had no idea that there were side effects. I thought it was just like regular vitamins.
Cimarelli is one of the roughly 200 million Americans taking dietary supplements. Today, Consumer Reports identified 15 commonly used supplement ingredients that could be potentially harmful. Some examples: red yeast rice to lower cholesterol may cause kidney and liver problems. Green tea extract powder for weight loss may elevate blood pressure and cause liver damage. And kava to reduce anxiety may exacerbate depression. One area of concern is supplements do not undergo the rigorous regulatory scrutiny applied to prescription drugs and other over-the-counter medicines. Dr. Peter Cohen of Harvard Medical School.
The problem is supplements look just like these drugs on store shelves, but the requirements to get a supplement on store shelves is nothing compared to what it takes to sell aspirin or Tylenol.
What do you tell your patients? Dr. Aida Vega is an internist at Mount Sinai Hospital. She says that doctors and patients often don't discuss supplements, which can lead to problems. How important is it for physicians to ask patients about supplement use?
The most important part of this is to understand why they're taking it. Because many times, if you understand why they're taking it, you can steer them in the proper direction.
The supplement industry says overwhelmingly supplements are safe and play a valuable role. But Scott, doctors worry lax regulation and enforcement means products could be contaminated, mislabeled, or interact in dangerous ways with prescription medication.
Dr. Tara Narula for us tonight. Thank you, doctor. Coming up, a Hawaiian island grows with the flow. Near Big Sur on California's Central Coast, a wildfire turned deadly overnight. A man helping firefighters clear brush was killed when his bulldozer rolled over. 8 hikers were rescued, though, from the fire Tuesday after being cut off for 5 days with little or no food. A commercial fishing crew was stranded off Alaska when their ship took on water and began listing. The crew jumped into lifeboats. 2 ships rushed in to help, and all 46 were plucked from the sea. From the 49th state to the 50th, Hawaii's Big Island is getting bigger. It's growing with the flow. A lava flow from the Kilauea volcano has been oozing toward the Pacific since May. It finally reached the ocean yesterday. Look at that. The explosive collision of fire and water will soon become Earth. This H2O raised buckets of dough and something else. That's coming up. Finally tonight, what's become of all the money raised by the Ice Bucket Challenge? Something very cool. Here's Jim Axelrod.
2 summers ago, everyone was getting into the act. Presidents, movie stars, billionaires. And while the cynics tried to throw their own cold water on the idea, saying it was a way to make a splash without actually doing anything.
Don't dunk a bucket of ice water on your head. It's stupid.
The Ice Bucket Challenge raised $115 million in less than 2 months.
Without the Ice Bucket Challenge, we wouldn't have gotten this money.
Dr. John Landers, a neurologist at the University of Massachusetts, runs a lab trying to find genes linked to ALS. He got $1.5 million from the challenge.
Does $1 million and a half bucks really make a difference?
You know, not to sound cliche, but frankly, every bit counts. Genetics, unfortunately, is one of those areas that is more on the more expensive side.
The Ice Bucket Challenge money led to Dr. Landers' lab isolating a gene, NEK1, which researchers are finding quite promising in developing treatments for ALS. More than 17 million people took the challenge. And to the researchers on the front lines in the battle against ALS, It wasn't just a way for them to feel good about themselves.
The financing, the money that was raised was just an amazing level.
It was a way to make a real difference. Jim Axelrod, CBS News, New York.
And that's the Western edition of the CBS Evening News from Philadelphia. Primetime coverage begins at 7 o'clock. We'll see you then.